What was once a science fiction dream is becoming a reality. Cars getting you from point A to point B while allowing you to read or watch television. Vehicles driving themselves on the highway, in the city, in good and bad weather, avoiding pedestrians, bicyclists, animals, and road hazards. Getting you there with confidence, driven for measurable safety.
How does a human learn to drive, or how long does it take? And most people will tell you, 6 months, a year to get a license. But actually, it's 18 years. 18 years to learn things like, there's a leaf on the road, I can run over it. There's a stone, I better be careful. And what we're trying to do with these artificial intelligence engines is squeeze in all that knowledge about the world and how to drive. If you think about autonomous vehicles, we have to deal with weather, we have to deal with the curvature of the road, EM signals, electromagnetic signals, never mind the other drivers. So the more you get into it, the more you realize how far away you are. But we have to solve it, otherwise we can't take advantage of this technology.
Today's way of testing autonomous vehicles revolves around counting and measuring miles driven. There is an expert report that says that you need to drive 11 billion miles in order to say that an autonomous vehicle is safer than a human driver. And that actually means 500 years of driving with a fleet of cars. And that is, of course, not really feasible. So what is done today is that the companies are also using game engine-based simulation in the computer to try to expedite the process.
Every year, sensors are improving to allow the vehicle to see ever better, while rapidly improving artificial intelligence and training data enables ever better reasoning and decision-making. However, there are numerous barriers to realize the level of safety the public expects, along with barriers to define the regulations gating public introduction.
The problem is that driving miles and collecting miles is not the right metric. It has a lot of flaws in it. If I drive maybe to work on a 100-mile road, the first mile will be probably as uneventful as the other 99 miles, and I will encounter probably the more common things that can happen to me while I'm driving. Will I encounter an animal crossing the road? Or will I drive during an extreme snowstorm? Today, companies are driving a lot of miles without trying to capture the meaningful scenarios that are needed to prove that the autonomous system is safe enough.
Nobody can actually enumerate all of these huge number of scenarios, so you need automation to automatically create or generate hundreds of millions of different scenarios and test them. There are three very important things that we need to remember. First of all, we need to do the hard work to do the testing. Second, we need public trust and transparency. And third, we need an open language that people can share what they're talking about when they talk about safety. There's a big reward for humanity when autonomous vehicles will be on the road. We're going to save a lot of life. We're going to make many people that today don't have mobility, accessibility to mobility, but there's a lot of more work that have to be done.
Foretellix is enabling the measurable safety of autonomous vehicles, automating the creation of scenarios for virtual and physical testing, verification and validation, evaluating and measuring the quality of coverage of the scenarios critical to safety over the quantity of miles driven.
Foretellix is going after the validation of autonomous vehicles. So what's an autonomous vehicle? It's basically a standard vehicle with a lot of computer science and electrical engineering technology on top. So we're going to have to use the techniques of validation that come from that world. Foretellix came from that world. They solved this problem for semiconductors, and they're perfectly positioned to go after the same sort of problem for autonomous vehicles.
But we're talking about this enormous complexity. We're talking about hundreds of millions of different scenarios that we need to test. The human brain cannot deal with such huge numbers. We cannot enumerate so many numbers. You need an automation system that can actually automatically generate many of these tests. It's just not possible without automation.
Over the past few years, public trust for autonomous vehicles has gone down. Foretellix believes that the automotive industry must change the way we test, verify, and validate autonomous vehicles.
Measurable safety means, in very simple terms, to tell the developers, the regulators, the insurance companies, and all other stakeholders where they are in the testing process. Have they tested all the situations and scenarios? Did you know that in California in 1976 there was snow? So have they tested those extreme edge cases? And this process, this measurable safety, gives them a bar. After they pass this bar, they can feel confident enough that they can say, okay, I'm ready to deploy this autonomous vehicle.
And I think in the next few decades, we're going to see a transition from human drivers to more and more autonomy. More and more of your drive you'll be able to do using autonomy, but the rest you'll have to do yourself, and it's going to get there over time. People will put a lot of innovation in finding new applications where they can actually apply the technology as it matures. The public will want to know that we as an industry have done a good job, and for that there will need to be more transparency about how and what we are testing and where we are on the road towards full safety. There's a lot more that's going to happen. It's going to be exciting.
To learn more, contact us today.